the headlines of VTV News, Prime Minister requests focus on responding to storms, floods and flash floods. Vietnam eases regulations for foreign investors in stock market. And later on in our world news, Fed cuts interest rate for first time in 4 years.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to VTV News. Coming live to you from Hanoi, you're with me, Lina Pham, and here's the top news of the hour. The tropical depression has strengthened into storm number 4, with forecasts predicting heavy rain before, during, and after the storm. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính has issued telegram number 98, focusing on storm and flood response. Specifically, the Prime Minister has requested chairmen of People's Committees of Provinces and Cities from Thanh Hóa to Bình Định to closely monitor the situation, update information, and respond to storms, floods, and landslides and flash floods in accordance with actual developments, review and call on boats to take shelter, and immediately deploy measures to ensure safety for boats, vehicles, and production activities at sea and along the coast. Coordinate with relevant ministries and branches to operate and regulate hydroelectric and irrigation dams in the areas scientifically and timely provide food, drinking water, and necessities to affected households, especially in isolated areas. The Prime Minister has assigned the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment to closely monitor the situation, provide timely forecasts, and deliver comprehensive information about the storm's developments to authorities and the public. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Transport is tasked with ensuring the safety of transportation activities, protecting people and vehicles, and safeguarding key transport infrastructure projects and facilities. In response to storm number 4, many localities in the central region have issued orders banning boats from going to sea. Rescue and relief forces are on standby with vehicles ready for deployment. Quảng Bình province has banned sea travel starting from midnight on September the 19th. Quảng Ngãi province has prohibited all vehicles, ships, and boats from going to sea from noon on September the 18th until weather conditions stabilize. Quảng Nam province is urging 206 fishing boats with nearly 2,000 workers at sea to quickly return to shore. Similarly, Quảng Trị province has called on more than 2,200 boats carrying over 5,500 workers to return to shore. The State Bank has asked credit institutions to objectively and transparently assess the impact of floods and storms on affected individuals and businesses to develop appropriate support programs. According to preliminary data from credit institutions and State Bank branches in affected areas as of September the 17th, approximately 73,000 customers have been impacted, with an estimated outstanding debt of about 94 trillion Vietnamese dongs. This number is expected to rise in the coming days as more data becomes available. Based on the level of damage to customers, banks are reducing interest rates by 0.52% per year and waiving all overdue interest and late payment fees. This preferential policy is generally being applied from now until the end of the year. To facilitate these support measures, the State Bank is also developing a circular to guide the process of extending and deferring debt affected by Storm Yagi. Careful preparations for storm management have allowed work on the Tuyên Quang-Hà Giang Expressway project to resume promptly despite significant disruptions from Typhoon Yagi. With thorough land clearance efforts underway in local areas, construction crews are ramping up progress to make up for delays caused by recent adverse weather.
As soon as the storm cleared, construction teams mobilized for the Tuyên Quang-Hà Giang Expressway in Hà Giang province. Various units have increased their work shifts to expedite the project's timeline.
Our goal this year is to finish the roadbed earthwork and lay gravel. If weather conditions are favorable, we'll also begin paving the asphalt surface.
The establishment of resettlement areas has facilitated land clearance, enabling faster progress for the Tuyên Quang Hà Giang Expressway project. This groundwork will help contractor recover lost time. By year's end, the project is expected to complete the roadbed earthwork and finish all associated bridges and culverts.
Till the end of the rainy season, we have mobilized 100% of our equipment and workforce to achieve an output of 35 to 40%, ensuring we stay on track.
Recent heavy rainfall and incomplete land clearance have delayed several key transportation projects. Addressing these challenges will accelerate progress on numerous projects as the year comes to a close. In addition to overseeing various projects, the government and the Ministry of Transport are intensifying efforts to empower local authorities in implementing key transportation projects. These decentralization efforts aim to align with the government's target of completing 3,000 kilometers of expressway by 2025.
Right after the typhoon passed, many key transportation construction sites resumed operation as usual. Teams and contractors are now striving to complete their projects 6 months ahead of schedule. More in the following.
This construction site is located in a low-lying area of Hanoi. Construction has promptly resumed once the floodwater receded due to their prior preparation. The progress remains on track.
During rainfall, we organized pumps working day and night. We have simultaneously launched 3 construction teams to complete assigned tasks.
We constantly monitor progress. To date, we are still on track to complete the project by the end of 2025.
Pumps have been deployed to flooded areas. All construction sites are now active again. This year, Hanoi aims to disburse at least 95% of the $3 billion USD allocated for transportation projects. The Ring Road 4 project in the Hanoi capital region spans nearly 113 kilometers, with more than 58 kilometers crossing Hanoi's territory. By addressing issues related to site clearance, multiple construction teams are on track to finish their tasks 6 months ahead of schedule.
We prioritize construction in elevated areas first, and then we will continue with the foundations.
This year, we plan to complete about 9 kilometers of asphalt road surface. We are also working with contractors to address the site clearance issues.
Transportation has also suffered significant damage after the typhoon. More than 4,000 damaged points have been recorded. Efforts to accelerate the progress of ongoing projects are being vigorously pursued. This year, approximately 17 billion USD has been allocated to the transportation sector, representing about 2/3 of the nation's total public investment budget.
Nearly 300 residents have been urgently relocated from Xóm Rai, Tuần Đạo Commune, Lạc Sơn District, Hòa Bình Province over the past few days. The move came after local police and militia members discovered extensive cracks on the soil atop the hills surrounding the village. Authorities quickly evacuated people to temporary safe locations.
Small vehicles navigated the narrow alleys to help transport belongings. Support was provided to households, especially those with fewer members. For over a week, Thương has not returned home.
We are not daunted by challenges, even though we haven't been able to return home for a week straight, and it's been raining non-stop. We won't let these difficulties stop us from helping the people.
The whole village is anxious. It's the first time they've seen an incident this severe, so they've been overcome with fear.
During a routine patrol, Vân and other team members spotted the widening cracks in the ground and promptly reported them to the local authorities. Initially small and short, these cracks have been growing in number and are now spread across the hill above the village. Recognizing the danger, Lacson District and commune authorities ordered an immediate evacuation of residents.
We assist each other even with the smallest tasks. When a family needs to relocate immediately, the entire village comes together to lend a hand.
We help each other out. We share our meals. The safety of the people is the most important.
Households living near the potential landslide area have already been relocated. Patrol teams take turns keeping watch throughout the night, regularly monitoring roads and areas where some residents still remain. As night falls, heavy rains continue to pour, stoking concerns that the entire hillside may not hold.
Typhoon Yagi left devastating consequences for the livestock industry as nearly 3 million livestock and poultry were lost and thousands of animal farms were damaged. Farmers and businesses are in urgent need of capital to restore production and rebuild their herds. The State Bank of Vietnam has also instructed credit institutions and commercial banks to promptly implement interest rate policy, debt restructuring, and provide loans to support people and businesses.
More than 5 hectares of grass used for cattle were flooded and completely wilted. It will take 2 more months before the grass can be harvested again. Banana stalks mixed with bran have now become the last resort to keep the cows alive. Unlike beef cattle, dairy cattle need full nutrition to produce milk. The priority of farmers is simply keeping the herd alive.
Just a few days ago, cows weren't eating anything, only drinking water. They've never been this miserable before. I hope the authorities will create conditions to help us restore production and pay for debts on time.
Natural disasters blew away over 20,000 chickens on this farm. As soon as the floodwater receded, the owners began cleaning up. About $2,000 USD are needed to repair the facilities. They have proposed additional loans from the bank.
We're still determined to resume production. The main goal now is to clean up as quickly as possible so that we can get back to raising chickens. Our family will never give up.
To support farmers, banks will further reduce interest rates on both old and new loans. They will waive overdue interest and offer grace periods for late payments.
We will reduce interest rates by 0.5% to 2% per year. We will also extend debt repayments and reschedule the loan terms. We will apply a 0.5% interest rate reduction for people and companies affected by natural disasters.
The central bank has also requested commercial banks not to collect debts at all costs. Banks must issue flexibility support for recovery in production for both individuals and businesses.
And before we move to the next part of VTV News, let's check out how the Vietnam đồng is weighed against other currencies in the world market today. Coming up next, 16th CLMV Economic Ministers meeting takes place in Laos. And Vietnam eases regulations for foreign investors in stock market. The 16th Cambodia-Laos Myanmar-Vietnam Economic Ministers Meeting, or CLMV-EMM 16, took place in Vientiane, Laos. At the meeting, delegates discussed several key issues and approved the CLMV Senior Economic Officials Meeting Report. The trade value of goods among CLMV countries reached nearly $768 billion, accounting for 21.6% of the total ASEAN trade value. Foreign direct investment in the region exceeded $26 billion. To promote trade between CLMV countries, Vietnam proposed strengthening cooperation to remove trade barriers, facilitate trade, especially e-commerce, and ease difficulties for Vietnamese investors implementing projects in Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. In 2024, Vietnam achieved a ranking in the Very High E-Government Development Index, or EGDI group, with 0.7709 points, placing 71st out of 193 countries in the 13th edition of the UN E-Government Survey. Within Southeast Asia, the country rose to 5th place out of 11 states, improving by the position since the 2022 assessment. This marks a significant leap from Vietnam's previous standing at 86th place in both the 2020 and 2022 surveys, with the 2024 index showing a 15-place improvement. The UN affirmed that the advancement of countries like Vietnam from the high to very high EGDI group shows success in strengthening digital infrastructure, expanding internet connectivity, and implementing robust e-government frameworks. The e-government survey is based on a number of factors, including online governmental services, telecommunications infrastructure, adult literacy rates, and digital engagement. Following the new regulation in Circular Number 68 issued by the Ministry of Finance, effective November 2nd, 2024, foreign investors will no longer need to provide a 100% cash deposit before buying shares in Vietnam's stock market. This removes a major obstacle that has prevented Vietnam's stock market from being upgraded from frontier to secondary emerging market status for over 6 years.
Under the new regulations, foreign investors won't need funds in their accounts when placing orders. They'll only have to transfer payment by the T+2 settlement date, offering more flexibility. If delays or technical issues prevent timely payment, securities companies will step in to facilitate the transaction on the investor's behalf.
Securities companies will temporarily handle the payment for foreign investors at that moment to ensure system safety. Shares will be transferred to their proprietary accounts and subsequently sold in the market to minimize risks. Any gains or losses will be the responsibility of the securities firms.
Foreign investors will then settle their obligations with the brokerage firms. With daily foreign trading volume averaging around 85 million USD, each company will only need approximately 1.7 million USD, an insignificant amount compared to their current capital capabilities.
In the near future, the State Securities Commission, SSC, will welcome delegations from rating agencies alongside major investment organizations that will participate in assessing the ranking of Vietnam's stock market.
Securities companies, based on their capital capabilities and liquidity, will be granted limits by the SSC to meet the trading needs of foreign institutions, estimated at around 10 to 15% of their equity capital.
It is understood that if most investors can trade without obstacles, then the issue of pre-funding can be considered successfully resolved in practice.
The earliest timeline for Phie Russell to conclude whether Vietnam meets the criteria for an upgrade is September 2025. Currently, Vietnam holds the highest proportion, nearly 30%, of total assets managed within the frontier market.
As of early September, Vietnam's total export value for agroforest and fisheries has surpassed $40 billion, up 19% year-on-year, according to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Industry forecasts suggest that this figure could soon reach $55 billion, driven by a strong export market in the year's final months.
This factory is set to export 180,000 tons of rice in 2024, thanks to its proactive approach to securing raw materials and new contracts.
Our goal is to export 180,000 tons of rice, and we have achieved 71% of said goal, equivalent to 130,000 tons. Revenue has been promising.
Over the past 8 months, rice exports have raked in 3.75 billion USD, and fruit and vegetable exports 4.63 billion. This latter category is expected to experience significant growth in export value.
Our products are highly favored by international customers. These markets show a particular interest in our products, and we anticipate a surge of new orders in the near future.
Our TRA fish inventory has increased. Agri-foods such as processed fruits have also increased. We are enhancing our inventory capacity to fulfill the next rush of orders.
The sector's strategy of securing raw materials, enhancing deep processing, and tapping new markets is expected to drive Vietnam's agricultural exports to unprecedented levels.
The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and the Mekong River Commission, or MRC, kicked off the second round of talks on water security in Vientiane, Laos on September the 18th. The second ASEAN-MRC Water Security Dialogue served as a unique platform addressing pressing issues of water scarcity, pollution, and water-related disaster risks in the Mekong region, viewed from the perspective of a connected and resilient Southeast Asia. High-ranking officials, experts, and partners from the Mekong River region and ASEAN member countries identified opportunities for cooperation and discussed policies and technologies to deal with water security challenges. These challenges require urgent action, outlining a shared vision to ensure water security and sustainable development. The Vietnamese Embassy and the Vietnamese Cultural Center have profoundly launched a cultural promotion space in France. This marks the beginning of a series of diverse activities aimed at bringing Vietnamese culture closer to both the Vietnamese community and the French public.
Over 500 Vietnamese and French people of various generations gathered at the Vietnamese Cultural Center in Paris to participate in cultural promotion events. This year's program has been specially curated to enhance quality and content. An exhibition featuring paintings and lacquerware by renowned artists such as Thành Trương, Phan Cẩm Thượng, Bùi Hữu Hùng, Lê Hoàng Nguyên, and Nguyễn Đình Quang has garnered significant interest from the French public.
For this event, we have carefully selected 40 diverse works by prominent Vietnamese artists to introduce to the public in Paris, highlighting traditional Vietnamese lacquer products.
My daughter and I experienced an evening full of emotions as we explored Vietnam together.
Accompanying the exhibition was the concert series for Peace, featuring conductor Phie, the Macedonia Philharmonic, and the Vietnamese National Music and Dance Center. The collaboration between the chamber orchestra and traditional Vietnamese instruments created a fresh, artistic atmosphere for the event.
It was a nice experience to learn something more.
Various artistic events and Vietnamese culinary showcase will continue promoting Vietnamese culture in France until the end of September.
Coming up next in our world news, Fed cuts rate for first time in 4 years. And new round of device explosions rocks Lebanon. The Federal Reserve on Wednesday enacted its first interest rate cut since the COVID-19 pandemic. The Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC, voted to lower its benchmark rates by half a percentage point. The decision, backed by 11 out of 12 FOMC members lowers the federal funds rate to a range between 4.75 to 5%. FOMC officials projected in their dot plot that the benchmark interest rate would fall by another half percentage point by the end of 2025. Following Wednesday's cut, the U.S. stock market gained initially, but the three key indicators were down by the end of the trading session. At least 20 people were killed and more than 450 others injured when walkie-talkies, solar equipment, and other electronic devices used by Hezbollah members detonated on a Wednesday across southern Lebanon. Witnesses reported that at least one of the blasts occurred during a funeral for victims of previous explosions. According to Lebanese authorities, Tuesday's explosions killed at least 12 civilians and injured at least 2,800 people. The United Nations condemned the attack and called for a comprehensive investigation into the incident. A new fluorescent nanomaterial that could help forensic scientists reveal previously unseen fingerprints, including those from cold cases, is undergoing evaluation in the UK. Researchers at the University of Leicester are saying it could bring to light crucial evidence in crimes that have until now remained invisible.
Fingerprints have long been a key clue for detectives and Crime Stoppers. The fingerprints we leave behind are made of mostly water in the form of sweat and natural oils. They can evaporate in certain conditions, leaving little evidence behind. Dusting for prints using nanoparticles, which are much finer than most powders, means more detail can be captured.
So what we've aimed to do is create a new powder for developing fingerprints. Powders are the most widely used, most successful method for developing fingerprints, but they have lots of issues already, and there's always room for improvement. So what we've aimed to do is create a new powder for developing fingerprints.
The new material consists of a silica nanoparticle, a fluorescent dye, and chitosan, which can obtain from powdered shrimp, crab, or lobster shells. Tests on the nanomaterial have found it sticks to residues on a range of different surfaces, including cash.
Banknotes can be particularly difficult to get fingerprints off of for a number of reasons. They've got lots of patterns all over them, and the patterns, when you look at them closely, the thickness and the shape of the patterns can look really similar to fingerprint detail. This image is particularly nice because the fingerprint is so different to the banknote itself. It's so clear, the fluorescence of the particles are so strong that there's no chance you mistake the detail for the banknote.
More than a century after the widespread acceptance of fingerprints in courts around the world, it could be about to shed some light on crucial evidence that has until now remained invisible.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go. Goodbye for now.